12 billion viewers watched 3 humans appear on a death world. The transport beam faded, leaving David Park, Nina Okonkwo, and Ray Callahan standing in a rocky clearing surrounded by alien jungle. Purple trees stretched toward a green sky. Strange calls echoed from every direction. Coordinator Drell's voice boomed across the galaxy. Welcome to the Crucible. These 3 humans must survive 48 hours on planet Croth. No species has ever completed this challenge. The current record is 31 hours, held by a team of Vorith warriors. They were eaten. David crouched low and studied the ground. Fresh tracks. Something big had passed through recently. Nina scanned the treeline. Her ears picked up movement in the bushes. Multiple creatures. Watching, Ray, the oldest of the 3 at 58, simply stretched his back and said nothing. "We need to move," Nina whispered. "No, David replied. Moving means running. Running means prey. We stay calm." A deep rumble came from the jungle. The ground shook slightly with each step of whatever approached. Trees bent aside as a massive creature emerged. The Ripper stood 4 meters tall on 6 powerful legs. Its scales glowed with blue bioluminescent light that pulsed like a heartbeat. A mouth full of teeth designed for tearing flesh opened and closed slowly. Across the galaxy, audiences leaned forward. This was the moment. The death moment. The reason they watched. Ray put his hand on Nina's shoulder. "Do not run." "I know," she breathed. The Ripper circled them slowly. Its glowing scales shifted from blue to orange. David watched carefully. He had spent 20 years as a wildlife veterinarian. He knew animal behavior. He knew when a predator was hunting and when it was curious. "It is not attacking," David said quietly. "Look at its posture. Head high, not low. It is studying us." "What do we do?" Nina asked. David slowly lowered himself to the ground. He sat cross-legged in the dirt, making himself smaller, less threatening. "We show it we are not a threat." The Ripper stopped circling. Its massive head turned toward David. Those alien eyes, black as space, stared at him in the broadcast center. Analyst Preet made notes on her data pad. She was a small, feathered being who studied species behavior. In 300 years of the Crucible, she had never seen this. "What are they doing?" Coordinator Drell demanded. "Why are they not fighting?" "They are communicating," Preet replied softly. "Or trying to." On the planet's surface, the Ripper took one step toward David, then another. Its breath was hot and smelled of copper. David did not move. His heart beat fast, but he kept his breathing slow. The creature lowered its head until its face was centimeters from his. David slowly raised one hand. Not to strike, not to defend, just to show it was empty. "Hello," he said gently. "We do not want to hurt you." The Ripper made a sound. Not a growl. Something softer, almost like a question. Then it turned and walked back into the jungle. Silence. Ray let out a long breath. "Well, that was something." Nina laughed nervously. "Do we just survive that?" "For now," David said, standing up. "It will be back. It is curious about us." "That is good. Curious is better than hungry." They gathered their basic supplies from the transport zone. 3 small packs containing water, nutrient paste, and medical kits. No weapons. The rules of the Crucible were clear. Survive with nothing. "Where do we go?" Nina asked. David pointed toward distant mountains. "High ground. We need to see the territory, understand where the predators live and hunt." "And then?" Ray asked. David smiled slightly. "Then we make friends." They walked through the alien jungle as the green sun moved across the sky. Every few minutes, David stopped to study tracks or droppings. He was building a map in his mind. Who lived here? What they ate? Where they slept? Nina found a stream and marked its path. Water meant life. Predators would visit water sources. Patterns would emerge. Ray moved slowly, but his eyes missed nothing. 50 years of working with dangerous animals had taught him patience. The young ones always wanted a rush. Rush got you killed. As evening approached, they found a small cave on a hillside. Good sight lines. Only one entrance. Defensible. "We rest here tonight," David said. "What about the Ripper?" Nina asked. "It knows where we are." "Yes," David agreed. "And it has not attacked." It could have killed us easily, but did not. That means something. From the jungle below, a blue glow appeared. The Ripper had followed them. It sat at the base of the hill, watching their cave. Is it hunting us? Nina whispered. Ray studied the creature for a long moment. Then he shook his head. No, it is guarding us. Guarding us? From what? For whatever else lives here. We interested it. Now it wants to see what we do next. David laid down in the cave entrance, looking at the glowing predator below. Then let us give a show. In the broadcast center, Coordinator Drell watched the viewing numbers climb higher than any previous crucible. Analyst Preet continued her notes, her feathered hands trembling with excitement. What are these humans? Drell asked. Preet looked up from her work. Something new. Nobody had ever offered food to a Ripper before. Ray walked down the hillside at dawn carrying a piece of dried nutrient paste in his palm. The glowing predator watched him approach with those black, endless eyes. Old man has lost his mind, Nina muttered from the cave. David held up a hand. Wait. Watch. Ray stopped 10 meters from the Ripper. Close enough to see every scale. Close enough to count every tooth. He sat down slowly, placed the food on the ground in front of him, and then folded his hands in his lap. The Ripper did not move. Ray did not move either. Minutes passed. The green sun rose higher. Across the galaxy, billions of viewers held their breath. Then Ray began to hum. A low, steady sound. No words. Just a simple tune he remembered from his circus days. Something he used to calm nervous animals. Tigers. Bears. Creatures that could kill him with one swipe. The Ripper's scales shifted color. Blue became purple. Purple became soft pink. Color change indicates mood, David whispered to Nina. Pink might mean relaxed. Curious. Not aggressive. The Ripper took one step forward. Then another. It lowered its massive head and sniffed the nutrient paste. Then it looked at Ray. Ray kept humming. The creature ate the paste in one bite. Then it sat down across from Ray like a dog waiting for more. In the broadcast center, Analyst Preet jumped from her seat. Did you see that? It sat down. It submitted. No Ripper has ever submitted to another species. Coordinator Drell's mandibles clicked with confusion. How is this possible? I do not know, Preet admitted, but I intend to find out. On the planet, Ray slowly reached out his hand. The Ripper watched, but did not pull away. Ray's fingers touched the scales behind its ear. Warm. Smooth. The creature made a low, rumbling sound. You like that, do you? Ray said softly. Good. We're going to be friends, you and me. Nina came down the hill carefully. The Ripper's eyes tracked her, but did not stand. Ray's hand on its head seemed to calm it. How did you know that would work? She asked. Ray shrugged. I did not know, but 50 years working with animals taught me something. Every creature wants the same things. Safety, food, company. This one has lived its whole life being feared. Everything runs from it. Everything fights it. Nothing has ever just sat with it. David joined them, keeping his movement slow. Remarkable. It has accepted us into its space. That takes most social animals weeks to allow. Then we have a head start, Ray said. What about the other predators? Nina pointed toward the mountains. I heard something up there last night. Wings. Big ones. And a sound like thunder. The howler, David said. I read about it in the Crucible database. Sonic attacks. Extremely territorial. It has killed more contestants than any other creature here. Then that is where I go, Nina said. Ray raised an eyebrow. You want to climb a mountain to meet something called the howler? Nina smiled. I can hold my breath for 7 minutes. I have swum with sharks. I have faced things that wanted to eat me before. This is just another predator with rules we need to learn. The Ripper stood as they prepared to separate. It looked at Ray, then at the others. I think it wants to stay with us, David observed. With me, Ray corrected. It chose me. Let's stay. If it follows Nina up that mountain, the howler might see it as a threat. They agreed. Nina would climb alone. David would map the territory and look for the third predator, the one called the Stalker. Ray would stay at camp with his new companion. Be careful, David told Nina. We only have 30 hours left. Nina began her climb as the sun reached its peak. The mountains of planet Croth were steep and filled with loose rocks. Every few minutes, she heard that thunder sound echo across the peaks. The howler was up there, waiting. Back at camp, Ray sat with the Ripper and talked to it. He told about Earth, about the circus, about the first lion he ever trained. His name was King, Ray said. Everyone thought he was vicious, dangerous, but he had been hurt when he was young, beaten by his previous owners. He was not mean. He was scared. I spent 6 months just sitting near his cage, not asking anything, not forcing anything, just being there. The Ripper listened, its scales pulsed soft pink. One day, King walked up to the bars and pushed his head against my hand, just like he did today. After that, we were inseparable. He died 12 years later in his sleep. I was with him. Ray wiped his eyes. The Ripper made that low rumbling sound again. You understand, do you not? You know what it means to be alone. The creature laid its massive head on Ray's lap. 6 tons of apex predator, gentle as a kitten, in the broadcast center. Analyst Preet had tears in her feathered eyes. This is not a survival competition anymore, she said quietly. This is something else entirely. Coordinator Drell watched the viewing numbers continue to climb. Every species in the galaxy was watching now. They had tuned in to see death. Instead, they were seeing something they had never witnessed before: connection. What happens when the 48 hours end? Preet asked. Drell did not answer. He had not planned for the humans to survive this long, that he had no plan at all. The sonic blast nearly threw Nina off the mountain. She pressed herself flat against the rock face as the sound wave passed over her. Stones cracked and fell. Her ears rang with pain. Above her, a shadow blocked out the green sun. The howler was massive. 20 meters of wingspan. A body covered in silver feathers that reflected light like mirrors. It circled once, twice, then landed on a ledge 50 meters above her position. That IT screamed again. Not a hunting cry. A warning. Nina stayed still. Her fingers gripped the rock. Her heart pounded, but she did not climb down. She did not retreat. Instead, she whistled out a single note, long and clear. It rose through the mountain air toward the creature above. The howler went silent. Its head tilted. In 3,000 years of existence, nothing had ever answered its call. Nina whistled again. A different note this time. Higher. She had spent her career studying marine mammals. Whales, dolphins, creatures that communicated through sound across vast distances. She understood that calls had meaning. Their responses built trust. The howler made a softer sound. Still powerful, but not aggressive. Nina began climbing again. Slowly, one handhold at a time. The howler watched, but did not attack. In the broadcast center, Analyst Preet leaned forward. She is mimicking its vocalizations, attempting communication through sound matching. Will it work? Coordinator Drell asked. I do not know. No one has ever tried. Nina reached a narrow ledge and stopped to rest. Her arms ached. The altitude made breathing difficult. But she was closer now. Close enough to see the howler's nest point. 3 eggs sat in a bed of silver feathers. Each one was the size of her torso. The howler was not just territorial. It was protecting its young. Hello there, Nina said softly. I'm not here to hurt your babies. I promise. The howler spread its wings. A threat display. Those wings could create wind strong enough to throw her off the mountain. Nina did something unexpected. She sat down on the ledge, turned her back to the howler, and faced the valley below. Across the galaxy, viewers gasped. She had made herself completely vulnerable. One sonic blast would kill her, but Nina understood something about mother predators. They feared threats to their young. By turning her back, by ignoring the eggs entirely, she was showing that she had no interest in them. Minutes passed. The wind blew cold at this altitude. Nina's fingers grew numb. Then she felt something brush her shoulder. Soft, warm. The howler had landed beside her. Its wing touched her gently, almost curiously. Nina slowly turned her head. The creature's eye was centimeters from her face, an eye the size of her fist, ancient and intelligent. You are beautiful, Nina whispered. Do you know that? You are absolutely beautiful. She reached up slowly and touched the feathers on the howler's neck. The creature trembled but did not pull away. I have a daughter, Nina said. back on Earth. She is 7 years old. Her name is Grace. I understand why you protect those eggs. I would do anything to protect my Grace. The howler made a low, rumbling sound, almost like a purr. We are the same, you and me. Mothers. Protectors. Nina stayed on that ledge for hours. The howler did not leave her side. When the sun began to set, the creature wrapped one massive wing around Nina's body, sheltering her from the cold. She radioed down to David. I'm staying the night up here. Are you safe? Nina smiled, warm beneath the howler's wing. Safer than I have ever been. Down in the valley, David received the message with relief. He had spent the day tracking the third predator, the stalker, but unlike the Ripper and the howler, this one left no obvious signs. No tracks, no droppings, no territorial markings. It was a ghost. As darkness fell, David returned to camp. Ray sat by a small fire with the Ripper curled around him like a giant scaly cat. Nina, Ray asked. Safe. She found the howler. Or it found her. And the third one. David shook his head. Nothing. It is out there, but I cannot find it. Then it will find us, Ray said. That is how predators work. We do not need to hunt it. We just need to be ready when it comes. They sat in silence as the fire crackled. Above them, stars filled the alien sky. Somewhere on a mountain, Nina slept protected by silver wings in the broadcast center. Viewing numbers had broken every record in Crucible history. Every species in the known galaxy was watching. Coordinator Drell paced nervously. This is not supposed to happen. They were supposed to die. Analyst Preet looked up from her endless notes. Perhaps that is why everyone is watching. They have seen death 1,000 times. They have never seen this. Seen what? Preet gestured to the screen showing Ray and the Ripper, Nina and the Howler. Hope. Drell's mandibles clicked. Hope was not profitable. Hope did not sell advertising. Hope complicated everything. Send in the hunter. He ordered up. Preet's feathers went flat with shock. That is against the rules. The contestants are supposed to face natural predators only. I make the rules, Drell said coldly. If the humans will not die to this planet's creatures, we will give them something they cannot befriend. On the planet below, David felt something watching him from the darkness. Something that was not the stalker. Something new. Something wrong. Something breathed in the darkness 3 meters away, but David could see nothing. The stalker had come. Ray woke instantly when David touched his arm. The Ripper's scales shifted to bright red, sensing the threat before either human could react. Do not move, David whispered. It phases in and out of visibility. It hunts by fear. Every contestant who ran from it died. Then we do not run, Ray replied. The breathing grew closer. David felt heat on his face. The stalker was right in front of him now, invisible, studying him. Most creatures had a simple hunting pattern. Chase, catch, kill. But the stalker was different. It fed on terror. It enjoyed the hunt more than the kill. Previous contestants had died screaming, running blindly through the night while the invisible predator played with them. David stood up slowly. The Ripper growled, but stayed near Ray. I know you are there, David said to the empty air. I can feel you. The breathing stopped. The stalker was listening. I'm not afraid of you. I spent 20 years as a veterinarian. I have held dying animals in my arms. I have faced diseases that could have killed me. I have lost patients I loved. Fear and I are old friends. A shimmer in the air. The stalker was becoming partially visible. David could see the outline now. Long and sleek, built for speed. Claws that could tear through metal. A face with no eyes, just smooth skin covered in heat-sensing pits. You are blind, David realized. You cannot see it all. You hunt through other senses. Heat, sound, vibration, and emotion. You can feel fear. The stalker solidified completely. It was smaller than the Ripper, but somehow more terrifying. A perfect killing machine designed by evolution. David knelt down, putting himself at the creature's level. What do you feel from me? Curiosity, wonder, a little excitement, but not fear. I have no fear for you to hunt. The stalker tilted its eyeless head. In its entire existence, it had never encountered prey like this. Prey that studied it. Prey that spoke to it. Prey that knelt before it without trembling. Ray watched from beside the Ripper. David, what are you doing? Making a friend. David reached into his pack slowly. The stalker tracked his movement, but did not attack. He pulled out a piece of nutrient paste and held it forward. I do not know what you eat, David admitted. But on Earth, sharing food is how we show trust. It is an offer of peace. The stalker sniffed the paste. Then it looked at David with those empty eye sockets that he ate from his hand. In the broadcast center, Analyst Preet was crying openly now. 3 apex predators. 3 completely different species. And these humans have befriended all of them in less than 30 hours. Coordinator Drell watched the hunter's transport entering the planet's atmosphere. It does not matter. The hunter will end this. What if it does not? Drell turned to face her. The hunter is a mechanical construct. No instincts, no emotions, no ability to be tamed. It has one purpose: kill the targets. The humans cannot befriend a machine. On the mountain, Nina awoke to the sound of engines. The howler was already alert, its head turned toward the sky. Something is coming, Nina said into her radio. Something artificial. David heard her warning as the stalker curled up near the fire like a strange, hairless cat. We see it. A ship, landing near our position. The Ripper stood and growled. The stalker phased into invisibility. Even the creatures of this planet knew that whatever was arriving did not belong here. The hunter emerged from its transport pod. 3 meters tall, built from black metal and weapons. Sensors instead of eyes. Guns instead of hands. It scanned the area and identified 3 human heat signatures. Target acquired. IT began walking toward the camp. David, Ray, and the 2 predators stood together. The Ripper's scales burned red with aggression. The stalker remained invisible, but David could feel it nearby. What is that thing? Ray asked. A cheat, David replied. They're changing the rules because we are winning. The hunter raised its weapon arm. A targeting laser painted David's chest. The stalker attacked first. IT phased into visibility directly on top of the hunter, claws tearing at sensors and joints. The machine had not detected it. Could not detect something that barely existed in normal space. The Ripper charged next. 6 tons of muscle and teeth slammed into the hunter, knocking it off balance. Its weapon fired wild, blasting a tree into splinters out on the mountain. Nina heard the battle through her radio. I'm coming down. The howler understood her urgency. It grabbed her gently in its claws and dove off the cliff, carrying her toward the valley below. The hunter was strong, built to kill, but it was fighting 3 apex predators who had spent millions of years becoming perfect hunters. And more importantly, it was fighting to destroy. They were fighting to protect. The Ripper bit through the hunter's weapon arm. The stalker phased through its armor and destroyed its power core. The machine collapsed, sparking and dying. Nina landed as the battle ended. The howler released her and screamed at the fallen machine, a cry of victory. David looked at the destroyed hunter, then at the 3 predators standing around them. They protected us, Ray said quietly. We did not ask them to. We did not train them to. They chose to. The Ripper pressed its head against Ray's shoulder. The stalker appeared beside David, its body warm against his leg. The howler wrapped a wing around Nina in the broadcast center. Coordinator Drell stared at his screens in disbelief. How, he demanded. How did they defeat the hunter? Analyst Preet smiled through her tears. They had something the hunter did not. Something no machine can have. What? Family. 40 billion viewers now watched the 3 humans and their beasts. The number had grown every hour. Species that had never cared about the crucible were tuning in. Governments paused their work. Schools stopped their lessons. Across the galaxy, everyone wanted to see what happened next. 6 hours remained. David sat with his back against the stalker, using its warm body as a chair. Nina lay beneath the howler's wing, writing notes about its biology in the dirt. Ray had fallen asleep with his head on the Ripper's massive paw. They looked like a strange family on a camping trip. Coordinator Drell had locked himself in his office after the hunter's failure. The Galactic Broadcasting Council had already begun an investigation. Sending an artificial killer violated every rule of the Crucible. His career was finished. Analyst Preet had taken over the broadcast. She narrated quietly as the cameras showed the peaceful scene. What we are witnessing has never occurred in recorded galactic history. Humans, a species barely 200 years into space travel, have formed bonds with three of the deadliest predators known to science. They did not use weapons. They did not use technology. They used something far more powerful. She paused, watching Ray sleep against his ripper. They used kindness. On the planet, David woke first. The stalker was already alert, sensing his consciousness return. "Good morning," David said, scratching behind where he assumed the creature's ears would be. The stalker made a pleased humming sound. Nina stirred under the howler's wing. "How long?" 5 hours and 43 minutes. She smiled. "We are going to make it." "We already made it," David replied. "Surviving was never the hard part. The hard part comes after." "What do you mean?" David looked at the three creatures surrounding them. "When the time ends, they will send a transport. We will be taken off this planet, given prizes and fame, and these three will be left here alone." Nina's smile faded. She had not thought about that. Ray woke and immediately understood the conversation. "We cannot leave them. We might not have a choice." The Ripper sensed Ray's distress. It made a concerned sound and pressed closer to him. "I have lived 58 years, Ray said firmly. "I have done everything I wanted to do. If leaving this planet means abandoning this creature, then I am not leaving." Nina nodded. "My daughter will understand. Grace always loved animals. She would want me to stay if staying means protecting them." David considered their words. He had no family waiting for him on Earth. His veterinary practice was gone. His purpose had been lost for years, until now. "Then we stay," he agreed, "unless they let us take the beast with us." Preet heard this conversation through the broadcast microphones. She immediately contacted the Galactic Council. "The humans are refusing to leave without the predators." The council members argued for hours. No species had ever requested to take crucible creatures off-world. The predators were considered too dangerous, too unpredictable. But 40 billion viewers were listening, and they had spent 2 days watching those same dangerous creatures protect and care for 3 small humans. Public opinion was overwhelming. With 2 hours remaining, the council reached a decision, but a message appeared on the humans' emergency communicators. Request approved. Predators may accompany winners off-world. Destination and housing to be determined. Nina screamed with joy. The howler screamed with her, matching her pitch perfectly. Ray hugged the Ripper's neck, tears streaming down his weathered face. "We are taking you home, my friend. Our home." David sat quietly, one hand on the stalker's invisible form. He had spent years feeling purposeless. Now he had found something worth doing. "We could start a sanctuary," he said. "A place where we study predators without hurting them. Learn from them. Help others understand that monsters are just creatures nobody took time to know." The final hours passed peacefully. The humans and their beasts watched the green sun move across the purple sky. They shared their last nutrient paste. They talked about the future. When the transport arrived, the Ripper growled at it instinctively. "Easy," Ray soothed. "This one is friendly." The pilot was a nervous insectoid who had never been this close to apex predators. He watched in amazement as the 3 massive creatures followed the humans aboard calmly. "They are tame?" he asked. "No, David Kerektiv. They are not tame. They are friends. There's a difference." As the transport lifted off, Nina looked down at planet Croth through the window. She had nearly died there. She had found family there. The howler pressed its head against the glass beside her, watching its birth world shrink below. "We will come back someday," Nina promised. "To visit, to remember." The creature made a soft sound. Understanding. Somehow 40 billion viewers watched the transport leave Croth's atmosphere. Many of them were crying. Species that had never shed tears were discovering they could. Analyst Preet spoke in her microphone one final time. "The crucible was designed to show the galaxy that nature is cruel. That survival means killing or being killed. That apex predators are monsters to be feared." She smiled. 3 humans have proven all of that wrong, and I do not think any of us will ever see the universe the same way again. 5 years later, a small moon orbited a quiet star at the edge of civilized space. the sign at the landing pad read, Haven Sanctuary, where monsters become family. Analyst Preet stepped off her transport and breathed the clean air. Trees from a dozen worlds grew here. Streams flowed through carefully designed habitats. And everywhere she looked, creatures that should have been killing each other lived in peace. David met her at the gate. He looked older now, his hair gray at the temples, but his eyes were bright with purpose. "Welcome back," he said. "It has been too long." Preet clicked her mandibles in greeting. "The council keeps me busy, but I wanted to see what you have built." They walked together through the sanctuary. Preet had watched it grow through reports and broadcasts, but seeing it in person was different. A Gorvan death lizard sunned itself beside a pond where earth fish swam. A pack of Kathrani hunters played with a ball like puppies. Creatures from across the galaxy, all of them deadly, all of them at peace. "How many now?" Preet asked. 347 residents. 12 different species. We receive applications every week from planets that want us to take their problem predators. Problem predators? David smiled sadly. Creatures that attack settlements, hunt livestock, threaten colonies. Most species want to kill them. We offer another way. They passed a training area where Nina worked with a group of young aliens. She was teaching them to read animal body language, to understand stress signals, to approach without threatening. Students, Preet asked, from 18 different worlds. They come to learn what we learned on Croth. That violence is not the only answer. Nina waved when she saw them. The Howler sat behind her, massive and silver, watching her students with ancient eyes. Its 3 eggs had hatched 2 years ago. The young Howlers had bonded with human caretakers and now helped patrol the sanctuary's airspace. She never went back to Earth? Preet asked. Her daughter Grace came to live here instead. She is 12 now. Wants to be a predator whisperer when she grows up. They found Ray in the medical center, examining a newly arrived creature. A massive feline thing from a jungle world, sedated and restrained. The local government had wanted it destroyed after it killed 5 colonists. "How does it look?" David asked. Ray shook his gray head. "Malnourished. Old wounds, badly healed. This animal was not a monster. It was desperate. Starving. Its hunting grounds were destroyed by development. Can you help it?" "I can try. That is all any of us can do." The Ripper waited outside the medical center. It had grown larger over the years, its scales now deep purple with age. When Ray emerged, it pressed its head against his chest. "Hello, old friend," Ray murmured. "Miss me?" The creature's scales turned soft pink. Preet watched this interaction with wonder that had not faded in 5 years. "The galaxy has changed because of what you 3 did." "Has it?" David asked. The crucible was canceled. 17 worlds have banned predator hunts. The Galactic Council now requires environmental impact studies before approving colonial development. And applications to work with dangerous species have increased by 800%. David considered this. "We did not set out to change anything. We just wanted to survive. Sometimes that is how the biggest changes happen. You showed billions of beings that there is another way. That understanding is stronger than fear." They reached the central garden, where a memorial stood. 3 names carved in stone. Not humans. The original 3 predators of Croth, Ripper, Howler, Stalker. They are still alive, Preet noted. "The memorial is not for their deaths," David explained. "It is for their rebirth. The moment they stopped being monsters and became family." The Stalker appeared beside David, phasing into visibility. It was completely comfortable now, rarely hiding unless playing with the sanctuary's children. It pressed against David's leg and made that pleased humming sound. "Do you ever regret it?" Preet asked. "Giving up your lives on Earth? Your careers? Your species?" David scratched the Stalker's smooth head. "What do we give up? Jobs that did not fulfill us. A world that did not need us. We found purpose here. We found family." He gestured to the sanctuary around them. To Nina, teaching the next generation. To Ray, healing the hurt. To the hundreds of creatures who had been saved from death and given second chances. Humans have always been good at this. Making connections, building bridges, finding the lonely and giving them a home. We just do it across a larger scale now. As evening fell, the 3 humans gathered on a hill overlooking the sanctuary. The Ripper, The Howler and the Stalker lay around them, forming a protective circle. Stars filled the sky. Somewhere out there, a new generation was learning that monsters were just creatures that needed understanding. Ray leaned back against his Ripper and closed his eyes. Best 48 hours of my life led to the best 5 years. Nina laughed. Remember how scared I was climbing that mountain? You hit it well. David watched the stars and thought about the future. More sanctuaries were being built. More species were reaching out. The work would never be finished, but that was fine. Important work never was. The stalker pressed closer to him, seeking warmth. You know, David said, they dropped us on that planet expecting us to die. Expecting to prove that nature was cruel and survival meant killing. What do we prove instead? Nina asked. David smiled. That the deadliest thing in the universe is not a predator. He put his arm around the stalker. It is loneliness, and the cure is simpler than anyone imagined. Below them, the sanctuary glowed with soft lights. 300 creatures slept peacefully, no longer monsters, no longer alone, just family.